Good afternoon. It's August 27th, 2022. We're here with JD Yates, representing both he and his father Dick as new inductees to the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame. JD, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's a pretty neat experience.
For the record, state your full name, birth date, and birthplace.
My name's JD Yates. I'm from Pueblo, Colorado, and I was born in Colorado Springs, Colorado, 1960.
1960. We'll get to your father, but tell us a little bit about your mother's ancestry.
My mother was from Colorado Springs, Colorado. She was, her family was mainly into, her dad was a professional golfer.
Oh.
And he had some racehorses, and my parents actually met in college in Fort Collins, and then right after they got done with college, then they started their life together in Pueblo, Colorado,
Okay.
where my dad was a brand inspector, and she worked down there.
Got it. Continue with your dad's people and where they were from. And
My dad was from eastern Colorado, down in a little town called Hasty, Colorado, but you know, more known as Lamar, right by Lamar, Colorado. And he started, you know, his career really mainly roping calves and riding barebacks.
Oh, that.
And so he never really got into team roping until when I was real young. You know, I went to the college finals in the bareback riding and the calf roping, and that was his main forte.
Mid 50s, I guess, or
Yeah, you know, I was born in 60, so they wasn't married that long when I was born, you know, but through his college career and then amateur rodeo, and that's he did all the riding events, but you know, his most success was in the bareback riding, and then he roped calves really good, won a lot roping calves, and then they started team roping as I was young. You know, they were still team tying then.
Okay.
And
Colorado, I don't think of as a hotbed of team roping. That seemed more,
you know, it wasn't at first, and you know, then it kind of team roping come in as team roping become more popular in the pro rodeos. You know, they first had a deal, and that it was elected in 8 states.
Okay.
And they could have it in 8 states, and then after they got it in 8 states, and then team roping got more popular, but one of the main states was Colorado that had it.
Okay.
And Colorado, Wyoming, and so we went to a lot of rodeos when I turned professional. I turned professional when I was 14.
Yeah.
And in July, right before the Greeley Stampede, and so that year is the first year I made the national finals. I turned 15 in August, and we happened to do really good, and so it worked out to where we did good. But then the professional rodeo cowboys and the team ropers elected my dad team roping director.
First one?
Well, no, they had directors then, but he wasn't the first team roping director. They had one because they had it in 7 states, but they knew that he was rodeoing with me and was going to continue to be to more rodeos, and you know, he was a pretty well-educated man, and they thought that he would be good for the business. And actually, you know, it's pretty interesting. My first time to ever Washington was, my dad really worked with a committee here, and he got team roping at Ellensburg.
I remember part of that, yeah.
And he allowed that, he guaranteed him, he said, I'll guarantee you if you have it, I'll come. And so that was the first time we ever drove to Washington. I'm like, where's it at? We took off, and I'm like, I felt like it was 3 days.
Next stop's the ocean, man.
And but it was a great experience, and you know, I was fortunate to get to win the rodeo with him here a couple times.
Yeah.
And so you know, he was instrumental in bringing team roping up to where it was, and you know, kudos to Washington, to Ellensburg committee, and having it. Because look at what team roping's done in the state of Washington now. It's really bloomed, and you know, I think a lot of the rodeos up here in the Washington area follow Ellensburg. And you know, when Ellensburg had team roping and it was a success, and the amount of people and that it brings into the city and the amount of money that it does, whether it's buying a tank of gas or a cheeseburger at the cheeseburger stand, you know, there's twice as many people come into town for the team roping as come in for the other events. And so I think it helped, you know, help get team roping at a lot of other rodeos, and my dad was very instrumental in that.
Well, and that tradition continues. The best of the West roping is Scott reps, and they just that's. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, JD, and well, did you have one? I don't know. You were a rodeo star at 15.
Well, I was. Well, I have a sister. Her name is Kelly, and she's a phenomenal gymnast. All that she did very well in gymnastics, cheerleader. She was a big deal at the high school and the schools and all that. And then she had a brother that couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time.
Those pro golfer genes didn't
nothing but cowboy fell in my blood. And so, I did it. I finished high school right there in Pueblo where she did. But she was a phenomenal athlete, and I was just the guy that wanted to be a cowboy. And so, when the bell rang at the end of the day, I was headed home to get on a horse.
That's what you were doing.
And she was in the gym doing all of her stuff, So, did I have a lot of social deals in high school and stuff? No, not really, because that was, on the weekends is when we went to the ropings, and they had the high school football games on Friday night, and they had the high school basketball games on Friday night and whatever. So I was never there. I was gone roping, and it was kind of like that person that, my dream from the time I was small was to be good.
Yeah. Well, it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out a little bit.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
You talked about your dad as a calf roper and horseman. Was he a horse trainer as well when you were young? Or?
Yeah, he rode a lot of horses, and trained a lot for other people. But that was a side job. Like I said, he was a brand inspector at First Trade, and that was his job. And then he had horses on the side he rode, and he trained some nice calf horses, and then, as team roping got involved, he started riding team roping horses and kept his job, because when we first made the made the finals, or when we first started doing it, it was like we went to 30 rodeos a year, and a lot of those rodeos was on the weekend. And of course, it was a small community, because Kansas, Colorado, and Wyoming was, we could drive to most of the rodeos after he got off of work or worked all morning. We'd leave at noon and go, and then we would come back at night, and he would work till noon the next day, or till 2, or depending on how long it was. And we spent a lot of time driving.
You didn't leave in June and come back in September?
No, not the way the rodeo is today, but that's when it first started, and basically that's, there was only maybe 4 winter rodeos that had team roping in the winter, so we wasn't gone much at all in the winter. We would go to at least 3 of them. We'd go to Tucson and Scottsdale, Denver, but basically we wouldn't miss much school. So I didn't miss a lot of school going through, till I was a senior, and didn't, it didn't really, school didn't interest me at that point. I was I'd been to the finals, and I was wanting to be better, and I needed to learn more, and I thought that learning more was to be out there doing it. And it took a few years after school that I realized that, school was important. And but then I went on to college. Out of high school, went to college, and college rodeoed for 3 years. And won the college national championship, and roped calves, and did all that, and loved college. But I was still, at that point, I'm 21 years old. I'm thinking that, I need to be this professional cowboy. I need to be at the top of the world. I need to do this. And so instead of finishing college, I quit and went to rodeo.
Got it.
And I went to California in the spring, and I went to working for these horse trainers on the side so I could make some money to rodeo, and went broke. And went back to college and finished my education and finished my last year of college. And my last year of college was probably my growing up a spot in the world that I knew what being around people was, meeting people, enjoying people, or learning all about people, and learning about yourself. And when I went to college in Oklahoma my last year, because I went to college my first 3 years in Pueblo, so we could go rope with my dad, you know, just I needed to be there. But then when I went off to college and learned what all that meant and what all that was.
Got away from home some.
And it was probably the largest education I had, and it actually growed me as a roper and as a person and as a competitor. You know, I'd had all this success, but I don't know what, you know, I still thought I needed more, but I didn't know how to achieve it. You know, the work ethic was there, but I wasn't getting, you know, and then after I went that last year of school, it...
Was there any particular mentor, or was it just a circumstance deal?
No, it's just kind of, you know, I had one mentor, and he kind of quit mentoring me when I went to, when I quit college, and that was my dad.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, he said, no, you need to finish school, it's important.
What was your degree in, or what?
Ag business, you know, it wasn't nothing that is a big deal. But to me, after I went back and learned something about my life and all that, you know, here I am, 62 years old now, and damn glad I did it.
Yeah.
You know, I wish. And so whenever I help kids, and you know, I do a lot of helping doing kids, and because when I was a kid really is when I had my most success, you know, and they still remember me that way. But I harp on school, and I'm big on education, and I think these kids can learn so much, and there's so much opportunity out there now with college rodeoing and the way that it's went, that it's just unbelievable.
Well, and you're as a young person, you're so focused in rodeo, you forget that there's things beyond rodeo.
Oh yeah, you know, I started my after I'd made the finals a few years. So you know, I had made the finals a few times and was still looking for something, and that's when I got to start working for some of these great horse trainers, and one of them, you know, was in Oregon at the time, so I'd come to some of them rodeos, and I worked for them. Another one was in California, and another one was in Texas. You know, they didn't have much team roping in Texas, you know, but I was going to some rodeos, and in my spare time, I was working for them, and I worked. You know, I have a horse training business called Hitch Track Performance Horses Incorporated, and we've been very successful with a lot of horses we've done good with. And but a lot of it is, and I became a better roper after I learned to ride better and learned what the dynamics of a horse was and how to approach it. And you know, I have kids that work for me now, and they're a lot of them's been very successful. That's worked for me and went on, and still got young kids there that work for me. And so, you know, I guess where I'm going with this is, I seen another avenue to advance my career, and I think that becoming a horseman or learning from these horsemen to try to become a better horseman made me a better roper along the way.
Bobby Avila, one of your Oregon guys? Or?
Bobby Avila, worked for Bobby Avila. I worked for Benny Catrone in California. I worked for Robbie Schroeder. I worked for Don Murphy. What I guess that people don't understand is I worked for every one of them for free.
Got it.
And they fed 2 horses for me because they was teaching me a art.
Yeah.
And you know, like I felt like it was like going to school, you know. Probably didn't get in trouble near as much as I did going to school as I did riding horses, you know, because I mean, it's their livelihood. They have the horses in training, and you're working for them, and if you're not doing the job right, I mean,
Bottom line.
There's no end to what they can tell you. And at the bottom line is you got to be tough enough to swallow it and keep trying and keep working. No. And it's not always that easy, but basically it helped my career. It helped my career roping, helped my career as a horseman, and actually it's the business I'm in today.
Yep. the rope horse futurity thing has had to help your business, I would think.
You know, the rope horse futurity thing,
or not, I don't.
It's very good. It's a very successful deal, and actually, the ARHA, American Rope Horse Futurity Association, is done a great job bringing the young horse to the top and experience it. And actually, my cousin's the one that started at Jay Wadham's, and I roped with him here, and we've done well here at Ellensburg at the rodeo. It's crazy that you asked that, but it's been a good thing. Now, you know, there's different parts of it that everybody can question something new that comes along. Sure. And I actually think they're doing a fantastic job of trying to expose the horses, you know, because from when I started roping to what the amount of ropers that there are today, it's increased, you know, it's increased 100%. And so it's taking people out there to train these horses for these guys. Basically, you know, we try to train a horse and make it for a businessman, because
they're not horsemen.
They can't be out in the arena 7 days a week or 5 days a week or 6 days a week. They got a business, and that's why they're willing to buy a horse and have him in training. And basically, our business is to be in the arena.
Yeah.
And so when they want to come ride and take their time with us, we're hopefully we got a good horse for them.
Got it. JD, I want to back up to your part of your childhood for a minute. Preparing for this interview, I got to thinking back. I graduated high school in 1981 and went to the high school and college finals and our circuit finals a time or two. And looking back, you were the guy that we were trying to be or wanting to be. But from the Northwest, Beers was our guy.
Yeah.
And did you guys match in high school?
Yeah, we matched at Helena, Montana in high school. And we always had a big kick. We become really good friends after that. I didn't know Mike Beers, and I actually was in Reno when the high school finals was going on, making a short go at Reno, and I was healing for my dad. And I got to Helena, Montana, and I was heading for Brett Tanasi. Okay. And and I borrowed a horse from a friend of mine from Arizona, because I was just, you know, Brett was a young guy that was coming up that ended up making the finals a few years later. But you know, we roped in high school mainly when we didn't have something else to do on a weekend. We would go to the high school rodeo and we'd rope together, and I'd rope calves, and you know, just going forward. And I don't really remember how it all took place, but yes, so I headed for Brett, and we got beat by Mike Beers, and I can't even remember who. I think some kid from Oklahoma, and I really didn't think that much about it. Me and Mike became friends, and actually I was the best man in his first wedding at Pendleton, Oregon. After that, that's how.
Beers.
Yeah, when he married Bonnie, and so we become friends, you know, and life friends for a long time, you know, and so we've always had a big joke that when he beat me, then he matched him and Dee matched Leo and hit Jake Barnes, and they got beaten. And I matched Leo and Jake Barnes, and I beat Leo. So I keep telling Mike, I think I'm still better than you. But no, it's always been a big joke between us, and we've been friends for years.
I wondered 40 years later, 50, whatever it is, that I would even remember. It was
it was that was the one time I got to go to the high school finals, and you know, there's things that probably I missed in life that now that I'm older maybe, but I didn't miss the college finals. I loved the college finals, and I made sure that I was there every year, and it was a great experience. And I think that it's a stepping stone to every successful individual that, you know, you go through the college ranks. You know, I guess I'm labeled as a bad dad. I got a son, and he was probably pretty good when he was still in college, and I wouldn't let him go to the rodeo in full time until he finished his college career. And his final year of his college career, he won the College World Championship, and then the next week he won Reno, and just went right on. It went, but before that it was just kind of up and down, but mainly because he didn't have the right partner, and his partner was me at that point, and I had other things to do, but I was keeping him to I mean, he needed that 4th year of college, he needed that education, and now he's become pretty successful as well.
I should say. Tell us a little bit about your Ellensburg Rodeo experiences. What do you?
Well, like I said, you know, the first time I'd come to Washington was to come to Ellensburg at the rodeo. I've had, you know, I've had a lot of success here. It's been good. I won it quite a few times. I got quite a few Ellensburg buckles. The one time I come here, I'll never forget it. They just started the Justin Boots cowboy deal where they took care of injured cowboys.
Just healer, okay.
Yeah, and at that time there was a firm out of Seattle that had a big white trailer that come in here, and man, my knees were bad, my shoulder was bad, and I'd been going to the timed event trying to make this money and still wanting to be this great guy. And so I went over there and I'm like, man, can you patch me together? Met this really nice kid, and I was gonna get his name out of my book before I left home and just didn't think about it. And he said, yeah, come in there. And so the whole time during the Ellensburg Rodeo that he kept me patched up, and I won the team roping and won like 3rd in the steer roping and won a go around of the calf roping and won the all around. And when it was all said and done, he kept me patched together, and I give him my all around buckle.
I'll be damned. Huh.
And because I don't know that I could have did anything but team roping, it wouldn't have been for him that year.
Well,
so I've had some great experiences. I've met some great people from here. You know, there's some great young kids from here in this town that rope outstanding, and the minor boys. And so, you know, they're all my son's age, but I get to be around them and know them. And I knew their dads, and I knew their uncle, and you know, so we always roped together or roped against them and together, and was friends in them days. And you know, then when I started steer roping, I met Mr. Ken McCrae, and he used to come to the house and stay some, and when he would go down south to rope. And so, you know, really, rodeo's a family.
It's a family, and it's multi-generational.
Yeah, and I mean, you never forget the people that you're around and who you're around, and you might not know that one, but you'll know his dad or his uncle, and then my son will know that one. Yeah. And so it's been a great ride.
Got it. Closing comments for the folks that might watch this interview, JD, about the Ellensburg Rodeo, or you and your dad.
Well, you know, rodeoing's a great experience, and you get to go to some sporting events, and a really great sporting event to watch is the Ellensburg Rodeo. You know, you can watch that last performance here at that Ellensburg Rodeo, and it'll just make the hair stand up on your neck. You know, from every event. You know, I'm not just speaking my event. You know, I can tell you that. It's, you know, all the performances are good, but when you watch them guys win that last day and get that big money, that makes the blood, sweat, and tears all worth it, you know. And so it's one of the finest rodeos that people can come watch, you know. And to a special day, getting inducted with your dad.
Thanks for being here, Pard. Give your dad our best, and wished he could have been here, but we know he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, amen.
Thank you.
Yep. Folks, that's JD Yates accepting his new induction into the Ellensburg Hall of Fame for he and his father Dick from Pueblo, Colorado. Thank you.